Okay, so this is part 2 of my video, Amber Waves of Guilt. If you somehow stumbled upon this video without seeing the first part, please make sure you see part 1 because it'll make more sense. But continuing on where I left off, I was analyzing the 911 call at the end of my last video. Now in the 911 call, one can hear themes of narcissism and grandiosity as the phone call progresses and Amber seems only concerned about herself. You would think that she would be worried about Mr. Gene losing his life, but no, she seemed more concerned about losing something else. Her job! Notice she's focused only on herself for the most part and not the victim that she shot twice.
I'm fucked. Okay, we have help on the way. I know, but I'm with my dog. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I could have sworn I parked on the 3rd floor. Okay, I understand. No. I thought it was my apartment. 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 I'm done. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I promised not to put it out. God, I thought they were my apartment. I thought this was my floor.
These suspicions of narcissistic and entitled traits are only solidified with the manner of how she is speaking to the poor victim that she shot. Look at how she callously refers to him as.
Okay, hey man, hold on. Hey bud, they're coming, bud. I'm sorry, man. Hey bud. Hey bud. Hey bud. Oh my god, hey. Oh, fuck. Hey bud. Hey bud.
Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I see an officer or anyone to that nature that I don't know, I don't refer to them as, hey man, or hey bud. This is rather dehumanizing and fits the narrative of probable narcissism and sense of entitlement, separating her as above him as the more optimal humanoid species and he as some form of animal. By the way, stating the obvious here, but it could be that her being a police officer also could have feeded into her probable grandiose component, as I myself have seen that on my end in medicine, and one tends to commonly see that phenomenon involving positions where such positions are highly revered and valued and looked up to in society to protect the public. A lot of times individuals in these types of positions get drunk on power that is indirectly given to them by the enamored public's perception of these individuals whom they think are better and higher than the ones who are praising them. Now, as the phone call further progressed, one can hear Amber saying, "I thought it was my apartment," nearly 20 times as she waited for emergency responders to arrive. Again, this psychologically doesn't fit any sense of situational normalcy. If anything, this seemed rather calculated, cunning, and planned. Normally, one wouldn't be able to be this organized at this point in time during the phone call. There usually is an immediate unraveling of mass hysteria, disorganization, and complete and utter chaos after establishing a rapport with the 911 operator. But in her case, it appears that she knows what she is doing. She was composed, she was organized, she was able to form complete and formed sentences, and she wanted to go ahead and spit out everything that justified her actions. I thought it was my own apartment. The reassurance of that. I thought it was my own apartment. The reassurance, the emphasis, the 20 times to solidify this argument, to solidify her defense and her actions, to help manipulate the initial distorted perceptions about her and justify her wrongdoing. When she said, "I could have sworn I parked on the 3rd floor," yeah, all of that. When the 911 operator asked her, "What's the gate code there?" she goes, I don't know. Again, all planned, all on purpose. Hear for yourself.
And then, what's the gate code there? I don't know. You don't know? Okay. I thought it was my apartment. They're trying to get in there. We have an officer there. You don't know the gate code? No.
Yeah, but she truly knows the gate code. and she would say anything to fit her narrative. She wants to come across as a tired, overworked damsel in distress who can't think, yet she's able to think because she goes back to that whole "I thought it was my own apartment" bit, not once, but twice when she was asked.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
She also said, "I'm so sorry" a few times during the 911 call towards the end, not only to add any sympathy towards her, the "we all make mistakes" excuse, but also this will make her look good that she is remorseful to any people that may question her in the future, such as a jury or a judge. This is either basically a CYA moment, CYA meaning cover your, and or it's a setting the stage moment to optimize her looking good in this terrible situation. This tactic also can work more so in societies only that are benevolent and forgiving in nature, such as the one that we live in. She's basically trying to take advantage of this society that's founded on Judeo-Christian morals and values with the whole benevolence and forgiving aspect. I shot and killed someone. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Let me move on. She at the end also added the "I'm so tired." Again, this is all to sort of, it's all planned, with the purpose to help her paint her overall narrative. Okay, lastly, before I hang up on this call and move on, but just take a step back and let's do speech analytics on it. There are no changes of pitch, no pitch inflections. The intonation and prosody seems consistent. Overall patterns are monotone and rather plastic in nature. So yeah, again, well controlled, well planned, well delivered. If it were a true and raw, unrehearsed phone call, it would have sounded something like this. Oh my god, oh my god, can't believe it. Highs and lows, basic gibberish, hard to understand a lot of times, highs and lows of the pitch, the whole nine. Okay, let's fast forward to a few months after the shooting. Now this is early 2019. Amber had to go to the courthouse a couple of times for proceedings and paperwork and legal reasons too. Well, I'm really too sure of why, but the public and potential jurors are watching. And you bet her defense team is pulling at all the stops to continue this narrative of innocent damsel who made a mistake. And you can even see it in a basic style transformation. Look, the defense is pulling at all the deliberated, orchestrated stops to angelicize her. It's a common tactic. A defense attorney will make every effort to have their client present to the media a look that is consistent with innocence. Just look at how she looked in January of this year. Wavy long hair and her white pantsuit jacket was buttoned. She looked straight ahead more often with her head held up high. Defendants convey innocence by holding their heads up. When they look down, that's symbolic of shame and guilt. So she was definitely coached. Girl, look at this busted Shakir wannabe. But this is the fault of the superficiality of our society. I hate to say it, but nicer clothes and a more polished appearance leave a better impression anywhere one goes, and even in this case, in the courtroom. Now, speaking of the courtroom, I watched it, and there was nothing in her testimony that made me empathize with her. You don't have to be a double board-certified psychiatrist such as myself to be able to analyze this BS. Let's take a look at what she was wearing. The defense is doing whatever it can to salvage this case. Wait, I'm going to show you how good I am at predicting minds. I bet you anything that in your mind, if you're watching this video right now, that you're either thinking of a librarian or a school teacher, right? Well, that's what the defense probably told her to wear. There's no more innocent and pure of a look than that of a librarian or a school teacher. I mean, if they were able to get away with it, and if it weren't too obvious, they probably would have told her to wear a nun's outfit. But here she's rocking this ridiculously planned outfit, and what's even faker is, well, just watch this clip. Okay, before I play the video, just check out her face right now. This is the face of someone, an individual who's thinking. She knows that, she's looking away, right? And she knows that, okay, at some point soon, I'm gonna have to go ahead and try to sell myself to the judge, the jury, and all of America, whoever's watching, and try to garnish as much as sympathy and compassion towards me, because really I'm the one that's guilty, but I gotta go ahead and turn the tables. So she's thinking, I gotta go and bring out the waterworks. This, by the way, is all probably planned and has been coached by her team. More than likely, I wouldn't be surprised. So the attorney's gonna say some sort of trigger word or phrase, and then she's gonna try to look away because it's too much, and then look back, and she may see something like maybe the gun or something, and boom, the waterworks are gonna start. Let's see what happens. Weapon, she looks back, boom, right there.
Why did you fire?
Fire. Now she's gonna go ahead right there.
I was scared. I was scared this person said the apartment was gonna hurt me. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Say the lines, say the lines.
Please repeat your answer.
I'm sorry, I'm scared, sorry. I was scared.
Whoever was inside my apartment was gonna kill me. And I'm sorry. I have to live with that every single day that I heard.
I have to live with this every single day. I'm hurting, you know.
How do you feel about that?
No police officer ever would want to hurt an innocent person.
Threw out police officer to garner even further sympathy, because America empathizes with the police, right? Understandably so. They're on the front lines. At some point, she's gonna grab tissue. Watch it. At some point, I haven't seen this yet, but at some point, she's gonna grab the tissue. There we go. Grabbing the tissue to reinforce and emphasize her point that she wants to garner so much sympathy. It's like a blanket of sympathy and empathy, that tissue is right there, just to reassure her point and reinforce it. Yeah, where are the tears? Why wasn't she crying the day she shot the poor dying Mr. Jean? Why wasn't there tears coming out? Again, I bet you her defense attorneys mentioned to her and coached her that when you're in the stand and after ask you a certain question or trigger, start the waterworks. Except all we see are works, because there's no water. She's a piece of work. This continues that overall theme of grandiosity and narcissism. No compassion for others around her, only her needs. Again, she was more worried about her losing her job more about Mr. Jean losing his life. She wasn't concerned about trying to save a dying man who she shot. She didn't bother about doing CPR. I believe that she probably has got strong, well-rooted ties to the Texas community that she lives in. My assumption is that growing up from a developmental standpoint, she probably has had a lot of things handed to her and or was privileged in the sense that she didn't have to work as hard as others around her, which has probably fueled and developed a stronger sense of narcissism. Her family also must be a little well off. I mean, to afford a $300,000 bail, not a lot of folks out there can do that, even if it's like 10% of that number. But this is a whole different discussion for a different time. The unfairness of the judicial system and the financial fairing of some over others, yeah, that's a different video. But going back to Amber, she's also a beautiful woman. Let's factor that in too. She has probably time and time again used her looks to manipulate and get what she wants. And I think that's what's going to happen here. She's playing this damsel in distress, persecuted maiden theme so far perfectly that I think there are going to be some people in the jury who are going to fall for it. The problem with this case is that it's DOA to begin with. Well, the murder charge, at least. I think what's going to happen is that the defense is going to go in there, their closing arguments, and say something along the lines of this. My client is a respectable, hard-working person who fights and protects society. She was just tired and overworked and on autopilot and made a mistake that anyone else in her shoes easily could have. She suffered from the consequences. She's been let go of her dream job that she's worked hard for all her life. She's every day suffering with the guilt and pain, knowing that she accidentally ended a man's life since last year and will, in her mind, suffer for the rest of her life. And lastly, there is not enough evidence to charge her with murder because, according to the Texas Penal Code, murder is committed when a person intentionally or knowingly causes the death of an individual, of which she didn't do. Neither was there any malice or motives in her actions. So I ask you to decide not guilty. Something like that. And yes, the defense is right. It's very hard to prove that she did this intentionally or knowingly. So I could see her being acquitted for murder just based on the legal technicalities here. Now, for the lesser charges of manslaughter, I can see the jury selecting that. I'm not an attorney, but hopefully, in the end, I hope that there's no total acquittal, because she really needs to pay for her actions. But then again, it wouldn't surprise me if the jury completely exonerates her. Let's just see where the scales of justice land.